Got it. Okay.
That's the mute. So if somebody, you're on. So if somebody leans over and starts to whisper it, you say, "Wait a minute," and you're mute.
Got it.
Or you just
All right, we're going to call the May RTA meeting to order. Before we get on to business, I just wanted to let everybody know the Cubs are up 9-0 in the bottom of the third. So that means we're going to have a good meeting today over the Florida Marlins. All right, let's see, we have a quorum here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Woo! We're just getting there. So we have to approve the agenda. We don't have any changes or additions to the agenda. So I'd entertain a motion. That's been moved by Trustee Stevens. Seconded by somebody else. We'll let you pick. All those in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right, seeing no opposition, that passes unanimously. Okay, public comments on items that are not on the agenda. Is there anybody here from the public that would like to comment on an item that's not on the agenda today? Seeing that the citizen scientist isn't here, we have no public comment. We'll move on. Would you like to? That's the question. He can say, so did I. Okay, approval of the minutes. On to agenda item number 4, approval of the minutes for the April 11th meeting. Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion to approve, okay, it does work on it.
We have a learning lesson this morning.
And I'll go through that as soon as we get through this. I meant to do that. So that was moved by Trustee Stevens and seconded by Councilmember Geislinger. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Seeing no opposition, that passes unanimously. Okay, quick training on the new system here. This is all hardwired in, so you can hold your cell phone up to it all day long, and it's not going to cause a problem. Push the, you see the little talking icon? You can push that, and that...
Just touch it.
Yeah, and when you see then the red come on, that means you can speak. Here's the limiting factor we have now, but I'm sure they're going to fix in the future. Only 3 of the microphones can be on. We got that fixed?
Yes, so everybody can talk.
Okay. Now, we're going to, so here's what we're going to do to test this. We're going to have everybody turn it on, and we're going to sing a song. No, I'm kidding. That's a joke.
What's the 1 and 2 do?
I think that does volume for the speaker. That's what I figured out earlier today. So if you'd like to hear me more clearly, turn that on.
The 1 and 2 actually is a channel. We don't have set up channels, so.
Okay, well, it doesn't do what we thought it did. I don't know.
You're just making stuff up. Yes, that was authoritative.
Well, I just pushed the buttons and I got more volume. And you can turn the volume up or down on the plus or minus there, obviously. Okay, on to agenda item number 5, the CAC monthly report. Reb, got your notes now?
I got Rick's. Thank you, Rick.
I just gave you the training. Like, seriously, just gave you the training.
The one looks like a talking man.
It's on.
Okay. I'm a slow learner. Good afternoon.
If you can't get grief here, where can you get grief? We know you're not getting it at home right now, so, Vicky's
I'll
retired.
give you a retired county employee to train.
Okay, all right. All right, please continue.
Good afternoon, board members. We held our monthly meeting last Wednesday, May the 2nd. There were no public comments. The monthly financial reports were furnished. We actually get our monthly financial reports about a month later than you because of the timing. It's nothing to do with Bev. It's got to do with the timing of the reports coming from the state. We approved 3 contracts from the city, recommending approval of them to the board. The city also put forward a line item transfer request, requesting transfer of some funds from the Pikes Peak. That's due to CSU. Utilities aren't going as quickly as possible, and they will not need those funds out of this year's budget. And then they also asked for a considerable transfer of funds from the Tut Boulevard extension from Dublin North. That project will not go forward this year, more than likely. In the event they do, they will replace that money with budgeted money from next year's agenda, or next year's budget. Those funds are being transferred to fully fund the $3.5 million left. I say left to complete the $3.5 million proposed for the bridge from America the Beauty Park into what is now going to be the new Olympic Museum. We also recommended approval of 2 contracts presented by El Paso County, and I'm going to skip something, and we also approved 1 contract from the City of Manitou Springs. We received a monthly transit service update, which was information only. I'm going to touch on this one briefly because there was considerable time. We saw the rough draft and made some recommended changes, and we recommended approval of the RTA annual report based on those few changes. And I would like to thank both Rick and Jen for putting up with all the comments and all the suggestions and making note of them. Thank you both. Because there was a long discussion about where we should place this, should we highlight that, and things like that. And I thought they were all good things. We got a legislative report update on 18-1001. When I say that, we also recommended that the board continue to use their authority without any consultation with the CAC. You guys are far more familiar with what's going on than we are. So use Rick's expertise and our lobbyist, I guess that's what you call it. And basically, I'm impressed with it, period. We got an information-only item on the GAP project, and I decline making any personal comments. And we are going to receive an update on the first PPRTA, PPRTA 1, which ran actually from 2005 till 2014. And there's still some money, when I say money, that is out. I'm sorry? That is not, it's been allocated to the north end of Mart Sheffel, primarily between Woodman and North Carefree. And if anybody's got any questions, I'll have to answer them.
Any questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Move to approve CAC report?
To accept the CAC report?
To accept.
I don't know that there's a difference, but.
Second.
All right, that's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right, seeing no opposition, that passes unanimously. Financial reports. You're on.
Okay, it's on.
You can just start talking.
All right. Well, good afternoon. My name's Kyle Logan with Logan and Associates, the auditors for the Pikes Peak RTA, and I am here this afternoon to present the results of our audit of the financial statements for the year ended 2017. You have in your packets 2 documents. One document is the audited financial statements. The other document is the management letter. And so I'll talk a little bit about the financial statements first and follow up with the management letter. So this is probably the quickest turnaround we've had in performing the RTA's audit since I've been doing it. We began the audit April 23rd, and so less than a month ago. And we came out to the offices. And as far as part of our audit process, you know, we pick samples of checks that are written. We look at what the checks are written for, and especially those checks that are written for capital projects, whether it's the original ballot issue projects or the renewal ballot issue projects, to make sure that those expenditures were included in that ballot question. So kind of more of a compliance thing to make sure, that, hey, procedures and policies are in place there that allow staff to properly report these expenditures related to capital projects. And so in doing that, we also, especially with the original monies that are left over, I sat down with Beverly and I do a comparison of, okay, how much money is left with the original issue to spend on capital projects. And so in doing all that, it kind of helps us determine, okay, to make sure that none of the old money is being spent on the new projects. And so that gives us a level of comfort. So doing that, we also verify revenues and bank accounts with outside third parties to make sure that what's reported in the financial records is appropriate and accurate. And so after we do all that, then that allows us to issue an opinion on the financial statements. And so all the numbers in this document, all the footnote disclosures in this document are responsibility of management of the RTA. Our responsibility is to audit them, the numbers in the footnotes, and determine if they are materially correct. And so for the year ended 2017, the Pikes Peak RTA received an unmodified opinion. And what that means in layman's terms is that's a clean opinion. So that is the best that you can receive from an audit firm. What does that tell you as a board? That tells you that all the numbers and the internal controls that this board and previous boards have put in place are being followed by staff. And so, that tells you, too, that the numbers you're seeing on a monthly basis are the same numbers that are reported here because we had no adjustments to those numbers. And the other thing I want to mention, I know the past 2 years, we have seen an increase in fund balance, primarily because these projects have been in planning phases and engineering phases and design. And so this year in 2017, the construction started on these. And so it actually used about $8.6 million of the fund balance, which isn't a concern to us because that's money that has been accumulating to be used for these projects. So, and as time goes and the construction projects continue, then these are going to continue, the fund balance will probably continue to go down a little bit. But again, it's not a concern of ours. Okay? And so that's, excuse me, the allergies are really bothering me today. So anyway, so again, the financial statements, basically 4 parts to them. You have the independent auditor's report, which is from our firm, and that is followed by the basic financial statements, which includes governmental financial statements and fund financial statements, which in your case are primarily the same. Those are followed by footnotes to the financial statements that go into a little more detail of certain numbers that are reported and also certain required reporting of the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. And then at the very end is the budgetary comparison schedule, which shows you how the actual expenditures were compared to the budgets and the revised budgets that the board has adopted. So that's kind of a brief highlight overview of the way the format of the financials and footnotes are. So any questions on the financial statements?
All right, seeing none, you can proceed.
Okay. Then the next document is, as I refer to it, is the management letter. And again, there's certain our professional standards require certain things that we communicate to you, the governing board of the authority. And so that's kind of what the first page is. We're also required to talk about if there were any significant changes to accounting policies or accounting procedures during the year. There were none. And then if we had any disagreements or any issues while performing the audit, and I'll tell you if there were, you would have heard from me before today. So that's always a good thing. And then the other thing that this letter is for is if we come across any issues while we're testing transactions or going through our audit process for either improvements in internal control or best practices or things like that, we did not come across anything. So again, as I mentioned earlier, that tells you as a board that the policies and procedures that are in place are being followed. So I guess kind of a boring letter for this year, but
We like
that's
boring.
Boring is good.
Yes, we
That's a
like
good thing. So anyway, and then finally, I want to thank Beverly and Rick for their help and assistance during the audit. They have the hard part of digging for information and sometimes trying to come up with answers to events that may have happened, a year to 18 months ago. So we really appreciate their help. It makes the audit process go very smooth. Any questions?
Any questions on the audit at all? All right, seeing none, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Do we need a motion?
We do, and a motion to accept it.
With that, I would move approval of the magnificently boring audit that you presented us, Kyle. Thank you.
And I will yawningly second.
All right, thank you.
All those in favor, I guess, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? Nay? Seeing none, that passes unanimously.
Thank you.
All right, let's hear the financials, Bev.
Good news or bad news? Bad news, good news?
We'll say good news today. Yeah, definitely.
Good
But
afternoon.
needs to pick it up better news, though, for sure. Yeah. So.
Just a little bit better. So we received $8,455,000 compared to $8,070,000. So we were ahead of the month of March. These are March receipts by $384,000. So we were behind last month in February by $364,000, and it just happens to offset that. But year-to-date, we're ahead $680,000, or 3% above our budget. And on page 2, we're ahead for the month of March compared to actual last year's March by $459,000, or $903,000 year-to-date. So we're ahead there, too. But this month, the month of March, is when we hit the $1 billion mark of sales and use tax receipts since 2005, since January of 2005. And as you're aware, all of that money has been authorized to be spent, and most of it is spent. But
So Tyler, since you've been on this board, $1 billion in tax revenue generated for the RTA.
And more than 99% of that's been spent on projects, not administration.
Yep, that's right.
It's huge.
Well, or spent on or allocated to, yeah.
That's terrific.
Yep.
It's a huge mark. I think
Yeah, it is.
that's a mark that we were looking at for a long time, and I
Right.
think that it's worthy of a announcement, if not celebration of some sort.
Okay, great.
Well, perfect. Announce and celebrate away.
We just did.
Yes, we did.
Woo-hoo.
Yes. Spent $495 on Rice
Should've gotten a
Krispie
little
treats, so
confetti,
that comes out of the billion. No. Yeah.
Okay, any questions?
Nope, seeing none. Thank
Thank
you
you.
very
Thank
much
you,
for the
Deb.
good news. May it be another billion sooner rather than later. All right, on to agenda item number 7, the capital maintenance and public transportation contracts for the City of Colorado Springs. Mr. Mike Chavez.
Good afternoon, Mike Chavez, City Engineering. Let me get to our summary sheet. So we have 3 items for your review today. First item is a change order for Cranmer Construction. They're working on the Cottonwood Creek Bridge, or the Academy Bridge over Cottonwood Creek. We awarded the main contract last year for about $6 million, and I did talk about we'd probably be coming back with another $1 million+ change order for creek work. And that's what this is they hadn't finalized, and we actually changed what we were doing in the creek to get a better product that was more stable and long-lasting. The next item is for our operations division. They've got a couple of pipe repairs. One of them's a smaller job at Carefree and Whip Trail, which is kind of like picturesque. And then the other one is a longer relining of the storm pipe along 21st Street between Colorado and south of Fountain Creek.
Any questions? All right, seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
I'd move to approve and accept the presentation. I'm not sure what the item. There we go.
Approval of contracts. There you go.
Yes,
The City of Colorado
thank you.
Springs for capital maintenance transportation contracts.
I'll second that clearly stated motion.
Yes.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right, seeing no opposition, that passes unanimously. 7B, Colorado Springs request for capital project line item transfers.
Okay, so this is some fund transfers to fully fund or the $3.5 million that was agreed upon, kind of a max amount that the RTA would pay to the the Beautiful Park Bridge. So we previously had about $3.1 million allocated. 2.021 of that was for the bridge, and then $1.1 million was for other Greenway Trail projects. So what we're asking is to supplement the Greenway Trail with $1.479 million to get that $3.5 million set aside, as we're going to go into construction sometime soon. They started a little bit on the abutment, and we just want to have that in place. There is about a $10.6 million estimate on the bridge. 3.5 is coming from RTA, and 7.1 is coming from other sources, the tourism bonds, is how they're looking at doing that. We've taken this money from a couple of projects, the Pikes Peak reconstruction. We don't anticipate needing all the money this year, so we're taking some from there. And the Tuck Boulevard extension is kind of on hold until some property owners annex and start developing. The alignment runs right through the pretty good-sized parcel, and we don't want to go buy right away that we can get dedicated at development. So those two projects are being used to fund the Greenway.
All right, so I'm not entirely sure what you're asking us to do today. My understanding was that this was previously approved, right, to the tune of $3.1 million?
No, well, the original budget in the Greenway Trail, which before the bridge became an item, was there was $1.1 million. Okay, and that was just kind of set aside. Subsequently, through some budget actions in 16, I think 15 and 16, we actually put a little bit over $2 million into the budget, because we have to allocate it every year. We've got kind of a target of what the project costs, but year to year we actually budget the money. So we had $2 million budgeted for the the Beautiful Park Bridge, and as we're moving to construction, we'd like to actually budget the full $3.5 million. So that means we'd have to supplement that budget with $1.4 million to cover the remaining, the $3.5 million, and also to keep parks fully funded at 1.1, because they've got a project going on right now that's using about $600,000, and they're going to probably need. We don't want to raid their $1.1 million that they have set aside. So we're supplementing it with an additional $1.4 million.
So I think I understand. This money's been previously allocated. We are just now budgeting it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm having a hard time understanding.
Then it can be a foot away.
Okay.
These are more sensitive. July 13 of 2016. July 13 of 2016, in the budget amendment, the mid-year budget amendment in 2016, the board, in approving that amended budget, also passed a motion to have a conceptual or theoretical $3.5 million cap in the funding of the bridge. So that's concept, not budget, not allocated, not encumbered, just concept. So in various budgets, the city asked for, and the CAC board approved about $2 million and change for the bridge budgeted against the conceptual cap. of 3.5. The city's now asking for the last $1.5 million, rounded off, $1,479,000, to actually budget it with a line item transfer from two other projects that can lend the money to the bridge in order for the city to get up to the conceptual cap of 3.5 to actually be a budgeted cap of 3.5.
Yeah, Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So my question would be, so the funding for the bridge was because it fell under the Greenway?
Yes.
Right. So how much was originally allocated for the Greenway project? And did the $3.5 million increase that, or is it still under what was originally the concept of how much that project would cost?
Go ahead, $1.1 million.
$1.1 million was what was put in the initial ballot estimate.
For the whole Greenway?
Yes. It was,
No.
not the whole thing, that's kind of.
That's what I mean, no,
Yeah.
so what was the,
Pre-bridge was, before the bridge even came up.
Yes.
$1.1 million.
For that Greenway portion, not for
Well,
all of Greenway.
yeah, not, it's just, it was, the Parks has much more need than 1.1 million.
Right.
But that was just kind of as we divvied up the pot of money, that's what we agreed to
Okay,
partner
well,
with.
all right, so like I said, I wasn't there in 2016. So what I thought had happened in the last year or so was that, say there was $10 million allocated for Greenway project, and then Colorado Springs said, well, we want to spend up to $3.5 million of that $10 million for this project. So there's no change to how much money PPRTA would be putting to the Greenway. It would just be how it would be allocated along that path. So are we saying we went from $1 million to $3.5 million?
Yeah, yes, basically.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
Which is, you know, we've done that, projects as they need more money,
That's
you know,
times.
well, and I think this was an unanticipated project in that component of the Greenway Trail.
Well, I understand that. I just thought it was part of a larger amount of money that they said, well, we want to allocate it in a certain way.
No.
All right, any other questions? Councilmember Geisinger.
And Mr. Chavez, as I am trying to remember when we, on City Council, dealt with this several months ago, the Greenway proposal was modified because of the design issues related to this bridge and everything else that was around it, correct? I mean, what was conceptualized for the Greenway program was actually modified and increased and enhanced because of the incorporation.
Yes,
of all
I
the
think,
stuff.
I think the back in the 70s, there was a master plan for the Greenway, and it talked about a bridge, very, very high level. But I think we brought that to council to formally adopt that this is part of the Greenway Trail. It was controversial, but we used that planning document to show that this is an idea that's been around for quite a while.
And part of the discussion involved changing the contours and the path of the Greenway itself to accommodate a more pedestrian-friendly park pass in terms of all this, the discussions that were going on in conjunction with the discussions about this bridge.
Yeah, I believe so. I think we had we came to council with a better idea of what the bridge was going to look like, and the size and all that.
So this is part of a bigger concept of what was planned several years ago for the Greenway.
Yes.
Okay.
So, and I think maybe part of the confusion here, Commissioner Gonzalez, is it's not like capital construction dollars or, there's a pot of them and then, you take a little bit here and a little bit there. Everything's allocated per project. So when he talks about the capital construction of this bridge, well, it's just another project that's part of greenways and open space. So it's not that it takes money from other projects or detracts from it. It's just simply the project that's in the list, of the way I understand it.
Yeah, so the trails that are on, there's several other trails that are in there as program, they're programmatic. And there isn't like a set plan, or, parks just knew that they have X amount of feet of trail to put in, and so they carved out some of this money to do that work, and then the bridge came along.
Right. But the idea is, it isn't like there's a pool of money and then you draw from it each year, and, once it's out, it's out. It's, you actually program money for specific projects.
Yes.
And that's what they did here. Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. But, okay, so I understand, but conceptually, a project was approved by the people. The project in this case was Greenway, or what's the official, Greenway?
Pikes Peak
Greenway Trail.
Improvements. Which is?
So the allocation at that time was $1-point-something million for the Greenway Trail. That's what the concept was. So this isn't an increase of cost to concrete or unforeseeable cost increases, which is what we saw in western Colorado. They've changed the idea of what was going to be funded to a larger project under the same name. Is the way I'm trying to understand.
Yeah. The parks had a general idea of constructing segments of trails and completing them. There's missing sections around the whole what they call it, the Emerald Ring. This bridge was kind of a new idea, new concept, and like I said, that's why we came to council to say, listen, this bridge was not really, it was not part of what we were thinking, but
and that's what my issue is. This was not the concept of what they asked the people to vote for. And I'm going to support this, because I'm not going to go against what you guys think is critical, but I just want to put that out there. That doesn't sound like this is a cost overrun on an issue like West Colorado.
No, it was a new component.
This is a change of what people thought they would be spending money on. That's my concern.
Sure. Councilmember Geisler.
And just, I understand that concern, Commissioner Gonzalez. I think what needs to be kept in mind, and I do remember, and this is drawing back to the discussions we had at City Hall and City Council about this, is that really what was happening is that there was a presentation about what the Greenway Trail could look like there in conjunction with everything else that was going on there at that time. And the decision was made that this is a way to enhance the Greenway Trail. Karen Paulus from City Parks was talking about how this was just a wonderful opportunity to obtain land at, frankly, no cost to the city, because it was effectively a change, a trade of land that would enhance the park system, enhance the Greenway Trail. But this was a decision that said, instead of buying land and redesigning that land in that area, that we could enhance the Greenway Trail in that whole area, in that whole vicinity, by proceeding along this way, and that the bridge would become part of that trail. So really, it's not so much a change in concept as an evolution of concept to make it to accomplish what the purpose of the Greenway was. And I understand what you're saying in terms of the increase in the cost, but it was a decision by council, as many read, controversial, but one that the council as a whole and the mayor said this is the best way to enhance that Greenway Trail.
And as a segue off that, whether it was 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years ago, a prior PPRTA board did accept the city staff's presentation and request that this perpendicular spur off of the north-south Pikes Peak Greenway corridor was sufficiently enhancing and had connectivity to it that it was a valid addition to the original concept of simply a north-south trail. And part of that presentation was Craig Blewett's presentation, and let me yield and let him make that same presentation.
Good afternoon. Craig Blewett, Transit Services Manager with the city, but a previous role I had at the city, I was a project manager for the Pikes Peak Greenway Master Plan. back in 1994, 93 and 94. And the plan was more than just a trail, north-south trail. It had a lot of components, and one of the integral components of that plan was an east-west bridge that provided access from the Pikes Peak Greenway to the downtown. So this bridge is a recommendation of the Pikes Peak Greenway Master Plan as approved by City Council.
And if I might,
Yes.
Mr. Blewett, the other thing is we have, in your current capacity as transit director, there's also connectivity that's going to result with the new bus station when that goes in. Is that correct? That this will effectuate the transit objectives as well?
Yes, it will.
Well, so the question that I'd have to sort of sum this all up is this the final amount of money, capital construction, for this Greenway Trail in order to get it marked off of the list and say completed?
No. We will not be coming back for more money for the bridge. I won't be, for sure. But we will still be allocating funds for other areas, I would imagine. There's 1.1 million that Parks is using. They spend about 700,000 connecting the Greenway Trail under Uinta. They've got the remainder of that for other areas, and then as we go next year, following years, if there's an additional money and we can, if they
These are
need
capital construction dollars, though, right?
Yes.
Okay, so are those going to be done with maintenance dollars, or is this still part of capital construction?
Capital.
I mean, because the idea is, at some point, you got to complete the project before you move on to the B list, and it sounds like to me this is an unending
Well, and at
ever-going
that
project.
point, so we will finish the hard projects, the roadway projects that are defined A to B. We'll get those done. And then we'll analyze, have we spent, there's programmatic elements of trails and traffic things. We'll look at those and see, is this enough? Are we done? Do we need to move on to the B list? And that's something that we'll need to look at and analyze and come to you for approval.
Sure.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So it goes back to my original question. Was this Greenway corridor a certain amount of money for a certain amount of projects? Again, my example, $10 million. This is $3.5 million of the $10 million.
No.
You said it was $1.5 million. So now we're putting $3.5 million to this, and you're saying, well, there's other Greenway projects that they can still do. That is an expansion of the concept of the Greenway project. When are we going to finish this? And if the city is not sure how many more projects, that tells me then that's not included in what they asked for.
Well, I think when we come back with budget requests, that'll be an area of discussion. Are you willing to put more money into the Greenway Trail? Once we spent the 1.1 that Parks really got, $3.5 million, that's a decision that the board can make.
Sure, thank you. Trustee Stevens.
I think I see the concern about the ever-growing list and trying to accomplish that, and I think history has shown us that when we've identified these projects, there are parameters for which these dollars are put in place, and what I'm hearing is that this is, what's the 1.1 plus 3.1, that's 4 point...
3.5 and 1.1 is 4.6.
Right, so that's the project allocation for Pikes Peak Greenway, is it
For
not?
right, yes.
So that's the hard stop, and they're moving between that, within that 4.6, I can't even remember what that number is, so that there is a hard stop to that element of the capital construction list.
And to be clear, there was no dollar amount allocated in the ballot initiative when it went forward. Okay, wow. Holy mackerel. With that, I'd entertain a motion. Any further discussion on 7B? All right, seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
I would,
You guys move approval.
I'd second.
All right, all those in favor of 7B, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right,
Thank
seeing
you.
no opposition, that passes unanimously. 7C, let's see if you can do this any quicker or more expeditiously, or...
We know how to do it right at the county.
All right, move approval of that comment.
Jennifer Irvin, County Engineer, and I appreciate all of our colleagues at all of the other member governments, because they're awesome to work with, so thanks, Mike. Jennifer Irvin, County Engineer, we have two items for your consideration today. The first one is one of the elements of our 2018 overlay contract, and that 2018 maintenance contracts, and this is our overlay contract. This is with Martin Marietta Materials. What we're looking for is an approval for $4.1 million this year, and that is going to go to approximately 20 miles of overlay, centerline miles of overlay in the county. Those projects have been approved by our Board of County Commissioners as of April 19th, and we look forward to getting this underway. This is a contract that was completed in 2015, and it had options, and this is the third of 4-year options. The second item is West Colorado Avenue, and this is making sure that we are being as transparent as possible on this project. These are we are working with Colorado Springs Utilities for gas line relocations and electric line relocations, and what we are doing here is kind of summarizing where we are today. Because of each relocation is being done by CSU with individual work orders, what we're trying to do is kind of summarize what we've done today, because some of those work orders have been underneath the $25,000 amount that you have to see, and then a couple of them upcoming are for a little bit more than that, and those are items that you have to approve. So we're kind of just summarizing for you everything that we've done so far is about $201,168, and we will come back with further line relocations. These are all in the budget, and were expenditures that were identified as far as the overall project originally. So really nothing new here, just trying to make sure that we're showing you everything that's going on with the utility relocations on that project.
All right, any questions on 7 Charlie? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second?
All right, that's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Seeing no opposition, that passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Manitou Springs.
Good afternoon, board members. My name is Shelley Cobb. I'm the Public Services Director for the City of Manitou Springs. Take it easy on me. This is my first change order request with the RTA since I've been coming to your meetings. We have a Brook Street Bridge project, which is a capital project under our downtown utilities and drainage capital project. The total change order request, it's 2 change orders. Total request of change order 1 is $80,969.87. Change order number 2 is $5,431.39, and this is all related to subsurface and surface conditions that came up subsequent to the contract being drafted with Murphy Constructors. These change order requests have been taken to our City Council and approved. They've been taken to your CAC and approved by your CAC. So with that, I'll stand for questions.
Any questions? All right, seeing none, I'd entertain a motion on 7D.
Second?
All right, that's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Thank you.
Seeing no opposition, that passes unanimously. Look at how easy that was. Other reports. Colorado Springs Transit Service monthly reports. Mr. Blewett.
Good afternoon again. My name is Craig Blewett, Transit Services Manager with City of Colorado Springs. We have our monthly report information in your packet, and quickly go over our ridership. The ridership on our fixed route local system was down again for the month of March, down by almost 10%. And as I noted, when you have 2 months in a row, it starts to be a concern, so it has drawn our attention. I would say, well, first of all, we have done an analysis of that, and I'll talk about that here in a second. But we have also peaked at the month of April, since we have those numbers in. And our decline for April is 4.3%, which is trending in the right direction. And of that 4.3% could be explained through the number of weekdays and Saturdays, or about half of that. We did take a look at where our ridership reductions are, where we're seeing those reductions. Is it 1 or 2 particular routes, or is it system-wide? And it is more system-wide than 1 or 2 routes. Another factor can be that we've interlined some key routes, and interlining means that the bus that starts out as Route 5 turns into Route 25, and that means passengers continuing on don't get off their seats and don't get back on and counted as additional riders. So some of that can be explained by that. I think we're encouraged that the amount of reduction is declining. In other words, it's trending in the right direction. So we'll see what the month of May has in store for us, and but we've got our eye on that. I will give the report that Councilmember Geislinger asked about last time about what we're doing about trying to encourage ridership. For our ADA service, a slight increase of 1.2%. That's just could be within month-to-month variations. And same thing with Van Pool, a slight increase there of 2.34%. Again, that's positive, but small percentage can be within variations from year to year. The projects, our spring service changes were implemented on April 29th, so 2 Sundays ago, and those are the off-peak improvements. So we can do off-peak improvements with the number of buses we have. When we do peak improvements, more service during peak hour, we need more buses. So that's the second shoe that's going to hit the floor this fall, is our peak service improvements are scheduled to happen September 30th, and that will be improved service on Route 27, which is South Academy, Route 1, which goes from southeast Colorado Springs to downtown, and some new routes for Memorial Children's Hospital and Pikes Peak Community College. That'll happen this fall. So the report I was asked to give, and it was really, the question was, what measures are we pursuing or have in place to increase ridership? And there is a report in your packet, and I said I'd keep it to a 3 to 5 minute presentation, so I think I can run through this pretty quickly. But really, those efforts to increase ridership fall into 3 areas. I'm actually going to add a 4th, but the 3 areas that are shown in this report in your packet are transit service improvements, some key projects and programs, and customer service enhancements. The 4th one I'd add is the quality of the product that we present to the public. To quickly go through the transit service improvements, there are a number of service improvements that we've made. We've really increased the revenue service hours, total amount of bus service in the community in the last several years, which can definitely improve ridership and better serve the community. And those include things that adding high-frequency service on the Academy corridor, North Academy, and soon to be South Academy, the Nevada corridor, as well as, and that's adding on to the 15-minute service we did east-west along Platte and Boulder. And we also have added some service to address on-time performance. On-time performance is key to attracting ridership, especially choice riders. You want a service that has reasonable travel times, frequent service, and it's something you can rely on in terms of on-time performance. We've added more routes on evenings and weekends. A lot of our riders are in the retail or service industries in terms of jobs, and those jobs don't confine themselves to 8 to 5 on weekdays, so that evening and weekend service really helps. Reconfiguring our long circuitous routes into shorter direct routes. The longer a route is, the more likely it is to be late and off schedule, and riders really prefer straight, direct routes. You get on a bus going north, and that bus goes north. Once you start making turns, riders get nervous. Adding the fixed route service to Memorial North Hospital and Children's Hospital this fall, and also Pikes Peak Community College. Pikes Peak Community College the students did approve a student fee, and so with that, we are going to also add service to Pikes Peak Community College in time for this fall semester. And with the student fee, the colleges collectively is paying for the service so their students can ride. We think that's going to improve ridership and, again, better serve the community.
Yeah, Councilmember Geisler.
Sure. The fee is $5 a student?
Per semester.
Per semester?
Yes.
And so it's a flat fee payment to Metro Transit? Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, with Pikes Peak Community College, because that required an additional route, they not only have that $5 base fee, but they have another $5 surcharge per student per semester for 2 years as a demonstration project. We also got a Colorado Springs Health Foundation grant that will stretch that from 9 hours a day to 12 and a half hours a day for both of those services. So this was the partnership we were seeking, where we're looking to expand our service area through partnerships. Key projects and programs, we just talked about the College Student Pass program, but also we are standing up our new joint call center starting July 1st that will not only coordinate services between the nonprofits that we fund, but also we are going to have a mobility manager that will oversee, and anyone in El Paso County can call for travel information and what's the best ride option for them, whether it's fixed route bus, ADA service if they have a disability, senior service if they're 60 or older, or we could be matching them up with Uber, Lyft, or taxi. So it depends on where they're coming from, where they're going, when, and what they're eligible for. But we think that's going to be a huge service for El Paso County. Customer service enhancements kind of go through the list there, but the real-time bus arrival information through your smartphone or your desk computer at work, you'll know exactly where the bus is and when it's going to come to your stop. Or you know that right now. We have that service right now. Van pool participants can log on and manage their accounts, and also we can do carpool matching. And so someone going to Denver and wants to go to a ball game, and they have two people and they want a third. Perhaps with the I-25 GAP project as a third, they can be an HOV, have 3 occupants or more, and ride for free if they have one additional person in the car. Improved access to our bus stops, which is huge for people who have any challenges, physical challenges getting to that bus stop, and for anyone, for that matter, where we're missing sidewalks to access that bus stop. We've put millions of dollars into those improvements over the last several years, and we're continuing that program. We do have USB ports on our new buses that are arriving, so it's a convenience to passengers. Social media platforms, I'm going to expand on that here in a second. We've expanded our customer service hours for people wanting information or where their bus is. We've added 2 hours to a weekday in terms of customer service information. New transit system pocket maps as well. And we have internal meetings every other week where we review on-time performance, other information where we can better improve our service. And I was just going to also stress that our quality of service in terms of to the public, quality of our product facing out to the public. The look of our buses is extremely important, whether they look clean, whether they look damaged or in good condition. We just installed a new bus wash. Our brushes were wearing out, the equipment was wearing out, so that just started up last week. So our buses should be looking spanking clean, which is a good way to present that to the public. Also, it attracts more advertising. We don't want those lawyers to look dirty on the side of the bus, so it's important. And also, bus stops. More people don't ride the bus than do ride the bus. And so, what do they think about our system? It's from the appearance of the buses, the appearance of the bus stops themselves, and also what we do with the media. I can say in 2017 we issued 16 press announcements, media releases. We documented press clippings, and we had 2 negative, 10 neutral, and 58 positive articles and mentions in print and online. So that's how people have an impression of what we do and whether they want to be part of what we do. Facebook, we had 36% increase in total page followers. And Twitter, we had an 82% increase in impressions, from 390 average daily impressions to 709. I don't know what that means, but it sounds really good. So I'm not a Twitter person myself. But at any rate, those are some of the things that we do. We do have a marketing and public relations annual plan, work program, that we stick to and really focus our efforts. Happy to answer any questions on that.
Any questions? All right, seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, monthly change order reports for City of Colorado Springs and property acquisition reports, 8B.
Mike Chavez, City Engineer. We just have one item on the Centennial Extension. Phase 1, we've got a $65,000 change order for Dwyer for some additional water line work, I believe that was.
All right, any questions? Seeing none, that is an informational only item as well. All right, on to agenda item number 9, legislative reports. I'll be happy to give this one today. Dan Jablan, our lobbyist, isn't here today because today's the last day of the session. So he's got last day of the session issues to deal with. However, there's a pretty huge update on Senate Bill 1. That's a bill and issue that we've been tracking through the RTA. It finally did pass through the House yesterday or the day before yesterday, and then was adopted, the House amendments were adopted by the Senate. So what does that mean? There's creates $495 million one-time spending for transportation for the 2019 budget, creates $50 million a year in ongoing transportation spending, most of which is allocated to HUTF, but a portion of it's going to be allocated to transit and multimodal. And it creates the option for a bonding initiative in 2019 to bond up to $2.4 billion in transportation spending to be paid off over the next 20 years. That's only going to go forward if the ballot initiatives sponsored by the Denver Metro Chamber are not successful this year. Those ballot initiatives, well, they'll run one, but they've got two titles pulled. One would have a 0.5% sales tax increase. The other's a 0.62% sales tax increase. They're going to run one or the other. They haven't figured out which one yet. So one of those will go forward. If they're not successful with one of those ballot initiatives, then the Transportation Commission will put forward the bonding initiative in 2019. That's what Senate Bill 1 does.
And a written summary of what the Commissioner just said is at your place from the lobbyist Dan Jablan.
Yep. Any, yeah, well, it's how the sausage making process works. The good news is there won't be any changes to it next week or next month to report because the legislature will no longer be in session. So that's legislative update, sine die at some point today. They are constitutionally obligated to end today. So whether that be now or midnight tonight, it will end today. Any questions on the legislative update? All right. 2018, moving on to 9B. Oh, I guess we have to approve the legislative report.
You don't have to.
Yeah, I was going to say.
That's contingency.
Informational, yeah. They have to continue going on, so we'll just go with that and see who wins. 9B, the 2018 annual report to the citizens.
You have that in your packet. This is Rick Sonnenberg, by the way. Other than the first page and the last page, all the other pages are half size, so that they will be double the size that you're seeing now. We're open to any changes that the board would like to make. The one that we did discover is that the Green Mountain Falls, on page, 3, the alternate for Green Mountain Falls on the board, instead of David Cook, we'll change that to Mayor Jane Newberry.
Does Tyler Stevens have an alternate? I mean, is it possible to have a substitution for you?
It's called an upgrade.
All right.
So that change has already been made in our electronic version. You don't have it, but I just wanted to notify the board we've made that change, and we're open to any other changes you would like to make. Otherwise, we'll send it to the printer tomorrow.
I'm not sure about this photo. It looks like Commissioner Waller's actually doing work.
When I'm not commissioning, I'm working for the highway crews around here. So, Councilmember Geisinger.
I really like the report, and I was going to say approve it as it is, but we learned some new information that probably ought to be included, which is the $1 billion threshold has been passed.
That might be a celebration.
That can be
Sure.
a nice little thing to add in there, to say that since the outset, something, we've talked about it, I would think something about that should be added.
I think that is a wonderful place to talk about the $1 billion in government spending.
We will find a place.
Not in government, in
Taxpayer investment.
Infrastructure enhancement.
Yes. All right.
We would appreciate a motion if you don't have any other changes.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to approve with the amendments by Councilmember Geislinger.
Second.
I was going to entertain a motion, not make
Oh,
one.
entertain, then I'd make that motion.
All right, perfect.
Second.
All right, that's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right, seeing no opposition, that passes unanimously. I-25 GAP project update. Am I
Yes.
doing this one too, or are you going
Yes.
to do this?
Either way, I can start, or you can finish.
Why don't you start and I'll finish?
Okay. The memo in the packet mentions the highlights that I received from Mr. John Hall, the CDOT project coordinator for the I-25 GAP project. The active item right now for the month of May until May 29 is open for public comments is the CDOT environmental assessment on this project. And there is a website where any citizen can make comments, can review and view the EA and provide comments to CDOT. There are also 2 public hearings by CDOT scheduled in May. May 14 at the Douglas County Fairgrounds in Castle Rock, 5:30, 7:30 p.m., and May 16 at Liberty High School here in Colorado Springs, also 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Then the final EA decision after public comments close on May 29 is expected by early July. The decision by the federal government on the infra grant regarding the application for the $65 million federal grant to supplement this project is expected June or July. And construction could begin this summer with completion by the summer of 2021.
All right, I'll add a couple of updates there as well on bullet points number 3 and 4. First of all, on 4, with the pending lawsuit, it looks like the Treasurer's Office is going to issue the bonds in lieu of the pending litigation. So I think we're going to have positive movement that way, which is going to enable the GAP project to stay on course. As far as bullet point number 3, we did get a little bit of good news regarding the infra grant. It has not been awarded yet. However, we know that we are still in the running for this grant because we got a letter from the U.S. Department of Transportation asking us 2 questions. One, when are you going to be when are you going to be ready to begin construction on the project? And 2, what happened with we said that when we had filed the application that we had a couple of pending ballot initiatives. They asked about the outcome of the ballot initiatives as well. So that tells us that we are very competitive for this grant, and it's still not for sure thing at all, but we're further down the road than we were before.
The third question wasn't who to make the check out.
That's not. When we get that one, we'll know we're in really good shape then. So, all right. Any questions about the I-25 GAP project update? All right, seeing none, thank you very much. All right, agenda item number 10. We are going to have an executive session today, and I would ask our attorney to read into the record the required preamble before going into an executive session.
He'll be looking for a motion from the board to convene into an executive session pursuant to CRS 246402 4B for the purposes of conferencing with an attorney to receive legal advice on specific legal questions related to legislation regarding collection of sales and use tax.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of going into an executive session, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? All right, seeing no opposition, we will go into an executive session, which means everybody that's not required for this portion of the discussion, we'd ask that you please step out. That's not you, Commissioner Gonzalez.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. If I could get a,
It's half and half.
Oh.
It's only the attorney.
right. So at this point, when your microphones work, I'd be looking for a motion to come out of executive session.
I move we come out of executive session.
Second.
There we go. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor of coming out of executive session, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right, seeing no objection, we are out of executive session where no decisions were made. Do you have a post-amble to read now?
Well, no recording of the executive session was made because I gave legal advice. So that's really concludes item 10. If you're ready for item 11. What I've prepared for the board to consider today is a resolution, which I will go ahead and read as clearly and coherently as I can. Whereas Senate Bill 18088, concerning clarification that retail marijuana sales are subject to sales tax levied by certain limited-purpose governmental entities, was signed into law on February 22, 2018. And whereas pursuant to Senate Bill 1888, as enacted at Section 39-26-729-1A C.R.S., any special district or other limited-purpose governmental entity that was levying sales tax on retail marijuana sales under Part 1 of Article 26, Title 39, before July 1, 2017, retains its authority to continue levying sales tax upon retail sales of marijuana under that article. Whereas pursuant to Senate Bill 1888 and Section 39-26-729-2, the governing body of any special district or limited-purpose governmental entity that was levying sales tax upon retail marijuana sales before July 1, 2017, shall determine whether levying such sales tax complies with the Colorado Constitution and applicable decisions of the Colorado Supreme Court and Colorado Court of Appeals. And if the governing body determines that additional voter approval is required, the special district or limited-purpose government shall not resume levying sales tax upon such sales until voter approval is obtained. Whereas Pikes Peak RTA is a special statutory district and limited-purpose government organized pursuant to the Regional Transportation Authority Act, after approval of the registered electors and issuance of a certificate by the Division of Local Government. And whereas pursuant to Section 43-4605-1J, Roman I, the Board of Directors of the PPRTA has the power to levy a sales or use tax, or both, at a rate not to exceed 1%, upon every transaction or other incident with respect to which a sales and use tax is levied by the State of Colorado. And whereas a general election held on November 2, 2014, the PPRTA's registered electors approved the authority's ability to impose a sales and use tax of 1% to be distributed according to law. And whereas the PPRTA's registered electors have voted in favor of extending the PPRTA sales tax at an election held on November 2, 2012, and whereas most recently, PPRTA's registered electors voted in favor of modifying capital projects that may be funded with that sales tax at an election held on November 7, 2017. Whereas since January 1, 2014, and therefore before July 1, 2017, that sales tax was levied upon retail sales of marijuana. And whereas pursuant to applicable decisions of the Court of Appeals and the Colorado Supreme Court, including the Tabor Foundation versus RTD and SCFD case, the PPRTA's authority to levy the PPRTA sales tax pursuant to the RTA Act and its voter approvals at the previously mentioned elections. The PPRTA has received the voter approval in advance to collect the sales tax on retail marijuana sales in compliance with Tabor, and does not require additional voter approval to levy the PPRTA sales tax upon retail sales, marijuana sales. And whereas the PPRTA desires to set forth its determination regarding the taxation of retail sales of marijuana as required pursuant to Senate Bill 1888 and Section 39-26-729-2 CRS. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the PPRTA that the Board hereby determines that the PPRTA sales tax shall be levied upon any and all retail sales of marijuana upon which the retail marijuana sales tax is imposed pursuant to Section 3928.8-202 C.R.S. that may occur now and in the future in the PPRTA. And the Board hereby determines that the PPRTA sales tax complies with the Colorado Constitution and applicable decisions of the Colorado Supreme Court and Colorado Court of Appeals, and that no additional voter approval is required to levy the PPRTA sales tax upon the retail sales of marijuana, and this resolution shall be filed with the Department of Revenue and shall be effective until amended, modified, or rescinded by the Board. The Board shall retain the full authority to amend, modify, or rescind in its discretion, and any such amendment, modification, or rescission shall be reported forthwith to the Department of Revenue. This resolution shall take effect on the date and time of its adoption. And I'm done. No.
Move approval.
Second.
All right, that's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, or any discussion? Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I just wanted to double check. So this is just starting it, it's not retroactive, right? So it's just moving forward.
So
Yeah, that's
the
correct.
legislation is retroactive, meaning that we've never lost the power to collect, but it's not retrospective. So there will be no there will be no attempt to recapture the lost sales
Okay,
tax.
thank you.
All right, any other questions?
Comment.
Yep, Council Member Avila.
I get that this was like a oops move by the part of the legislature that we were excluded from this. However, I'm still going to state in public, it's hypocritical to go for this when El Paso County and the city of Colorado Springs, and I know it's different, do not have recreational marijuana, but yet we want the benefit of that 1% sales tax. And I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah, sure. Commissioner Gonzalez, and then I'll comment.
I would just argue that it's not a benefit. It's the whole recreational marijuana is a detriment. People go into those stores or are going over roads that are either Colorado Springs roads, lots of these people that are purchasing that, or county roads. And so the people utilizing those roads and avenues need to, pay their fair share of the maintenance of these road projects.
Yeah, I agree. I think well said. This is an issue of what happens there impacts the entire community. It's not like these are just Manitou Springs residents that are engaging in this activity. It's people who live in unincorporated El Paso County, people who live in Colorado Springs that, again, as Commissioner Gonzalez said, drive on Colorado Springs roads, drive on El Paso County roads to get there. This was something that was set up in the enacting legislation to begin with. I mean, this was supposed to be the benefit of legalization.
I get that on the enacting.
Well, I take exception to the comment that this is hypocritical in some way, and I'm just expressing and articulating my opinion that I don't think it's hypocritical in any way. All right, with that, we'll take the vote. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Nay.
All right, that passes with Councilmember Avila in opposition. All right, do I need to articulate that better? All right, so with that, any member announcements? Seeing none, we're adjourned.
Do you want this back?
If you don't want it, I will take it back.
So, off the top of your head,
Yeah.
when are the TIP projects? July 15th?
So we're collecting projects right now for the long-range plan for the TIP. We just adopted the new
Work right now. On to the next slide.
last month's board meeting. I don't know that we have like an open call for projects in the TIP, which is a 4-year funding plan.
There is not? I thought there was some deadline coming in July.
That's for the long-range plan. I'm pretty sure